right? So it's verse 24. Look for verse 24. Yeah. Welcome, Chumash and Rashi, the Torah portion, double portion, Tazria-Metzora. We go into the second reading. We're in the middle of discussing the laws of tsaras, which is a skin disease miraculously falling upon a person as a consequence for lashon hara, for this speaking ill. Okay, let's get right into chapter 13, verse 24. Oy basar, so in the middle of a thought over here. So, oy basar, the flesh, ki yeh ba'er, that will be ba'er, or it will be in the person's skin. Michvas eish, it's going to be like a fire burn. V'haisa michyas hamichva. Avin, you can let people in.
Yes, happy to.
Thank you. So the healed area, michvas hamichva, the healed area of the burn, baheris, has a white spot, baheris lavana, a snow white spot, adam demis, or lavana, that's either with red streaks or white, completely white. Let's see, Rashi. Michvas, michyas hamichva. So michya comes from the chai, life, meaning a healed area, where the mikveh is, where the burn is. Rashi in 24. Michyas hamichva, the healed skin of the burn. In Old French, sanema. Kishechaisa mikvah, when the burn healed, it turns to a beheris. Pesucha, which is a mixture that has a mixture of white and red, or levana the chaluka, or a solid white. The simane michvan, the signs of impurity of the burn, the simane shchin, and the signs of impurity of the inflammation, shavim him, they're identical. So then, if they're identical, why does the Torah divide them into different, verses and say them together? They're the same idea, right? Why should they be presented separately? Loimar, this will tell you that they don't combine with each other. So, for example, if it developed half a gris, the size of something that makes you impure, it has to be the size of about a dime. But what if you had half a dime of one, right? Of the inflammation where it healed, and a half dime, right, of the burn where it healed. So, and they're together, so half and half, right? So you might think, well, two halves will make a whole, and therefore will make you impure. But you should not consider it as a full gris. Gris, again, is that size of a dime, which is the minimum size of the of this affliction that needs to be on the skin in order to be impure. So you will not combine them together. That's what the Torah is coming to tell us by the fact that they're, even though the law is the same, but they separated the two, meaning the burn on the skin and the inflammation. They're two different types that don't come together to add to each other. And the kohen shall see it. And when he sees it, he sees that, behold, it was transformed. Seir, the hair, lavan, right? The in other words, his dark hair and it turned white, the baheres, in the spot of the white looking flesh, umareo amok, and the appearance of this affliction, right, of this lesion is deep, mina or from the skin. Tsaras it is tsaras, the mikveh that has opened up in the burn, parcha that has parcha that is opened up. The kohen will make him impure. Neged sarasu. This is, or he rather, this is an affliction, or in other words, the kohen is going to pronounce that this person has the affliction of tsaras. Remember that the kohen has to pronounce it. Ve'im yirena kohen, verse 26, and if the kohen will see it, v'hine, and behold, in baheres seir lova, there isn't in the baheres, in the snow white spot, seir lovan, hair that's white, that turned white, u'shafola einena mina or, and the appearance doesn't seem to be lower than the skin. It doesn't seem. It seems to be on top, not in the skin, right? Einena mina or he keha. It is became darkened the skin, but not. Two things that didn't happen. It didn't turn to white, 2 hairs at least, minimum 2 hairs. And it doesn't appear to be lower than the skin because it's darker. So the kohen has to quarantine this person for 7 days to see what will happen. Okay, and then the kohen will see him on the 7th day. And if it will spread, right, this lesion or this affliction will spread on the skin. Says then impure the kohen will make him. Neged tzarasi. This is the affliction of tzaras. Okay, 28. Why? Because it spread. 28. But if the snow white spot remained the same size, meaning it did not spread, as in the previous verse, and therefore, became impure, loy possible or, and it didn't spread out on the skin, in the skin, v'hikeya, say some michvah, and it became darker, v'hikeya, say some michvah, the lesion of the burnt, the white wool spot on the burn, and the kohen will make him pure, because this is a scar tissue of the burn. That's what it is. It's not tzaras. Okay, now we're going into another form of tzaras. Till now, we're speaking about on the skin. Now we're talking about where your hair is, right? The isha, a man or a woman, ki boy nega, he will have a nega, a lesion, an affliction, baroish, bezokin, on his head or on his beard, right? In other words, where the beard grows, right? Rashi in 29, baroish bezokin, on the head, meaning the scalp or the beard. Balkos v'chalik. Verse is coming to make a distinction here, right? Ben neged b'mokum seir, between an affliction that is in a hairy place, the neged b'mokum basar, to an affliction, to a lesion that's in a place of flesh. Shezel simona, for this is the sign, the affliction in the place of the flesh that we discussed previously, right? Till now, we did not speak about We did not speak about on a hairy place. We spoke with skin. Say lava. So this where the hair and this is one of the affliction of hairy place in the sign of impurity. Se'er zohu, when it becomes yellowish hair, as we will see. Mm-hmm. See that shortly. Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, this verse 30 now is going to tell us this. That's it. Oh, 1 second. I think I read the wrong thing here. No, I did. Okay, it's going to continue to this verse 30 now. But Kain, so then the Kain has to examine to see Esa nega, the lesion, the affliction, vihine, and behold, marehu amok, its appearance is deep, mina, or from the skin. In other words, it doesn't seem on top of the skin, but it seems like, in the skin. And in it is a hair that it became golden, dak, that's thin gold hairs inside. This affliction, right? Saying the kain will make him impure. Kain. Benesek who? This is called a nesek. He tzaras haroish. This is the tzaras of the head. Ayazakin who? Or of the beard. Okay, let's see Rashi in 30. Vayser tzov, and in a yellowish hair. Shenepach ser shocher sheboy tzov, that the dark hair turned yellowish. Who says blondes have more fun? Here, yeah, dark hair and now turn yellow, right? Sign of impurity. Now, obviously, if the hair was originally yellowish, that's not a sign of impurity. It's because it turned from black hair to yellowish hair. But right, that's what we're talking about. Nesek, this is a Nesek, Kashma, that's the name, a Nesek. Shall negav, this affliction, but Malcolm Seir, in a place where there's hair. 31. Chira Kayin. When will he will examine the kayin? It's a nega, a nesek. This nega, this lesion that's called a nesek. Vihine ein marehom. But the appearance doesn't seem to be deep, or from the skin. V'ser shocher ein boy. And there are not black hairs. Hizger kayin is a nega. Right? Then the Kohen will quarantine this nega, this lesion, meaning the person who has the lesion, right? Shivas Yom 7 days. Okay. So Rashi picks up on the wording over here that it says Seir Shachar Einboy, that he doesn't have dark hair. What does that mean? It seemingly should have dark hair. So from this, he says it implies that if he did have dark hair, Torah, he would be pure. Since he doesn't have dark hair, right? He wouldn't need to be quarantined. Because dark hair, he is a sign of purity. In the affliction of where you have hairy parts. Okay. Okay, so if he had black hair, so then he wouldn't be an affliction. Okay. But if he doesn't have black hair, what does he have? Not yellow hair, because if he had yellow hair, then he would be impure.
Right.
But so it's not clear what does he have. Okay, 32. Okay. The Kohen then, right? So now he's quarantined for 7 days, right? He's going to see the affliction on the seventh day. Behine, and behold, loy pasa, it did not spread the affliction, the lesion. Loy haya boiser tzov, and it did not have hair that was yellow. Marea nesek ein amak min or, and the appearance of this nesek is not deep within the skin. Okay. Rashi in 32. Hine leiposa. Behold, it didn't spread this nesek. Impossible, because if it did spread, or he had yellowish hair, tell me it would be impure. So then what do you have to do? He has to shave himself now. This nesek. Sorry. He has to shave. Nesek lo yigalech. But the nesek, right? That's the affliction. He should not. He should not shave. V'hiskar kohen, right? And the kohen will quarantine him as a nesek. The nesek, right? It's like it's interesting. He's not quarantining the person because it doesn't say the person, right? It says the nesek, meaning the lesion, the affliction. And obviously means the person because the person comes with it, but the verse doesn't say that. Just interesting to know. Perhaps because it's really not an affliction of the person. It's just, it's an affliction. Not you. Not really you. Shiva's Yom Sheni. So he gets quarantined another 7 days, right? To see what's going to happen. Because, so here the shaving doesn't make him pure. It's just to see if there will be, well, you know what? Let's see Rashi's going to explain. Rashi in 33. He's Galeach. He shall be shaven, Svivus Nesek, around the Nesek. There's an Nesek lo Yigalech, and the Nesek he should not shave. Maniach shtei sayros samuch. He leaves two hairs next to it. In other words, Saviv around it, there's like a belt all the way around the affliction of two hairs. Why? That way it'll be discernible in Pasa if this Nesek did spread. Say for if it because if it does spread Yavar Cyrus, it will go beyond the hair that was left there. Yeah, so leaving these two hairs around in order to see if being positive, whether it's spread or not. Yavar Cyrus, because then it'll go beyond the hairs. And come out to the shaved area. Okay, 34. No, Kain, and the Kain will examine, he will see, meaning examine. It's a nesek, this lesion, this affliction, but Yemeshvi on the seventh day. And it did not spread or in his skin, and its appearance isn't deep, or from the skin, and he will pronounce him to be pure. And then he will immerse his garments in water of the mikvah and rid himself of the defilement. He'll be tahar. It's interesting. It says here he becomes rid of the defilement. That's not what the Hebrew is. I don't know why he translates it that way. But tahar means, and he'll be pure, not rid of the defilement. It doesn't say that. I don't know why he translates it that way. Giving me always a challenge when I'm translating. Make sure that you get that you learn the language this way. Right? So he's pure. Now the im and if, however, positive say hanesik bor, that it will spread this nesik. Now, if it spread while he was in quarantine, that we know already, right? Of course he's impure. But what if it spread after he becomes pure? He's no longer defiled, right? After him being pure, right? Rashi achri Taharasa ainli ela paisela achara poiter. So this verse I only know that rules that if it's spread after he is released. How do I know that after the first or the second week? It always speaks about after the second week you're no longer you're pure, right? But then it's spread, you become impure. How do I know after the first or the second week? It never spoke about it. So Rashi says, you've said because the verse says, spread, it spread. So I mean, it's a double spreading, not just a spreading now, but at another time after the first or second time. That's interesting. I would have thought it's not a question because it'd be all the more so if after coming out of quarantine it spread, then for sure you'll be impure, right? Obviously. Why do you need why do you need the verse to tell you that? Without that, it'd be a kal v'chomer. Why does this Torah have to come tell you that? You would say, if after you were declared pure and then it spread, you were considered impure. Well, if you were quarantined and it spread, obviously all the more so. So why do you need the verse to tell you? Follow my question? 36. Let's see, maybe it's brought down some. Okay. The kayin, we'll see it. And the nesek spread on the skin. Lo yivakar kayin l'seir tamehu. So the kayin need not seek out to see if there's golden hair. If it's spread, that's enough to make him tameh, to make him impure. He's defiled. But if the appearance seems that the nesek has remained the same, omud means it stood, meaning it stood its ground, meaning it didn't spread, right? The nesek, the seir shachar tzamach boy, and black hair now grew there near nesek, meaning it healed the nesek, right? Because it didn't grow, it didn't expand, and not only that, but there's black hair. Taharahu, he's pure. Tihara Yakayan, and the Kayan shall pronounce him pure. Not only is it pure, that's the law, but as we've learned previously, the job of the Kayan is to pronounce it and others to verbalize it, right? 37, Rashi, V'seir shachar, and the dark hair, minayin. From where do we know that that even yellow, ba'odim, and red hairs, and utzohuv, that which are not yellowish, are a sign of purity. In other words, Rashi's asking, I don't know why he's asking this. Well, we'll see. Let's finish it off. The verse says black hair, but what if it was another color that was not the yellowish that we're talking about that makes you impure, right? Red. They're not yellowish, right? Talmud Leimer, the verse says seyar, and the hair. Lama tzohuv daimen. To what is the yellowish hair similar? The tabnitz azov, to the appearance of gold. Tzov k'moy zoy. The word tzov is similar to the word zoiv, golden, or pal in Old French. I'm not really clear on what Rashi just said. To be very honest. Okay. And it's pure, and the kohen shall declare it pure. Hatame, but an impure affliction, shetiara kohen, that the kohen declares pure, loitar is not pure. In other words, it has to be two things. It has to be the fact and the declaration of the fact. And they have to be both, clearly as such. Isha, a man or a woman, a man or a woman who has spots on their skin, that on their flesh, white spots. Chavar burais, spots. The kohen shall examine, shall see it, vihine, and behold, and behold in their the flesh, the skin of in their flesh of their skin. Beheres, kehos lavainais, dark white spots on the skin. Vayeku, it is it says here lack of pigmentation. Parich ba'or torahu. It erupts in the skin. It is pure. Rashi, keos lavainish ein leiben shalahen az elakaya. The white color is not bright; it's dull. There's a dullness to it, right? Boihak. Here's a new term. It's a white patch. Hanira bebasar adam can be seen on the flesh of the red complexion of a person. Shikarin rose, called rose in Old French. Ben chavar burais, between the spots, adam dimois, there's a redness. Karin bohek, it's called a bohek. Ish adshan, like a person, a freckled person. That's what it means. That's the example. Shebein adasha la adasha. That's between one freckle and another. Mavik abase beloivin saf. The flesh shines with a gleaming whiteness. Hmm. All right. Hashem, we got it done. Whew. All right. We'll see you in a few moments with billing. Oh, Tanya.